Hi, everybody. It's Vanessa again with Tempest, and today we are talking to Michele Dunleavy about what she has coming for the festival this year. So, Michele is a dancer and an instructor at Penn State as well. So, she's kind of doing all kinds of stuff in the dance world. How are you doing, Michele? How is this morning going for you?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Vanessa. I've been actually in Zoom meetings this morning talking with my colleagues about the return to campus.
Ooh, that's exciting. I feel like every professor right now, every time I talk to them, they're like, I'm trying to figure things out with the return right now for that message coming out.
Yeah,
So the first thing I wanted to ask you was how has like dance and being a dancer affected your life?
that's a great question, and that's a really huge question, I think. I think dance taught me confidence and made me believe that anything is possible, that this girl from suburban New Jersey could travel around the world dancing, that I could teach at an institute like Penn State. It gave me a way of expression, a way to express my feelings, an outlet as both a performer and a choreographer, and even more so, I think, as a teacher, it's given me the opportunity to share my love of dance, my passion with young people, and to help shape a next generation. At this point, several generations. I've been doing this for a while. Several generations of artists, and I think that's maybe the thing I'm most proud of.
That is really cool to think about, like being a teacher, you kind of get to like not only be a dancer, but like kind of like you were saying, shape the next few generations of dancers and, help them kind of become what they're going to become.
Yeah.
So another thing that I wanted to know was like, if you could go back to like Michele back in the day, whenever you were just starting out in dance, what would you tell her?
I think I would tell her, first of all, that you are enough, that you don't need to compare yourself to anybody else in the room, that the body that you have to dance with and the instrument that you have to dance with is perfect. And that is something it took me a long time to understand and really believe. Um, yeah, and I also think I would tell myself that to stay open to the universe, because it's great to have plans. I think it's important to have goals, but things don't always turn out the way you think they will. And you should try to remain open to what the universe is suggesting to you, and not sort of discard opportunities because they don't fall in line with your plan. Yeah.
So do you think that's like a lesson that you find a lot of your students would like benefit from hearing as well? Do you think that's something that they also experience?
I do. I think knowing that, really knowing that you are enough, that you have, a colleague said this so beautifully the other day in a meeting, and I'm paraphrasing, but that you have within yourself right now everything that you need to express your own truth. I think that's so important for young people to understand. You can always continue to learn technique and practice and refine your craft. Those things, that's a never-ending journey as an artist. I don't think you ever get to a place where you stop practicing. I think if that happens, you might want to question what you're doing. But to know that in your heart and in your soul, that you are enough, that your voice is valued and valuable and important, and what you have to say about your own lived experience is meaningful, and that it's important to share it.
I mean, it's one of those things where you are the only one of you, and so you're the only one who can tell your story the way you would. So
Exactly.
I think that's a really cool lesson to learn in dance and just like in life, that you are enough and you have enough in you to do what you need to do and what you want to do. So I think that's awesome, and I'm glad that we have teachers out there teaching, young students stuff like this. It's wonderful to have professors like that at the university that I go to, and so many of my friends go to. It's just really great to have good teachers there. Speaking of teaching, I know that you're going to be teaching a couple of things at the festival this year, so tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I'm actually teaching a couple of classes that seemed to be popular last year. So repeats, we're doing a couple of repeats. Tomorrow at 11, I'm teaching the Shim Sham, which is a classic. I'm going to call it a vintage dance, vintage jazz dance. It is part of the tap dance canon, but it's also performed by swing dancers. And I say that because I want people to know that they don't need to have tap shoes or a special floor to be able to participate in the class. So if you do have those things, that's great, but they're not necessary, not required. And then in the same sort of genre, wheelhouse, vein, whatever you want to call it, I'll be teaching the Tranky Do, which is it's a vintage jazz routine that is sometimes attributed to a dancer called Pepsi Bethel, but actually I think was really created by Frankie Manning, who was a very famous Lindy Hopper. And it introduces students to some really classic vintage dance vocabulary, steps like falling off the log and trucking and Shorty George. And it's fun. I think both dances, I think the history of both those dances are really important to talk about right now because they both come out of the Black community. And I plan to talk a little bit about the history of each dance before we actually get into learning the steps. And yeah, I think, yeah, that's it. They're both at 11. One, Shim Sham is Friday. Tranky Do is 11 o'clock on Saturday.
So, like she had said, join her at 11 a.m. Friday and Saturday for both of those dances. It almost sounds like they're fun dances, but they have like cool history behind them too, which I think is the best kind of thing where you get to learn a little bit like dance wise and like history wise about it. I remember, like you had said, those were repeats. So last year we did them out on Allen Street, which we all wish we could do again. But I just remember every time I walked by someone in one of your classes, it just looked like so much fun. Everybody was just happy and dancing around. Where did you learn the Shim Sham and the Tranky Do?
Actually, I learned some of them from, well, I guess specifically the Shim Sham. I learned it in tap class as a kid growing up. It's sort of considered the national anthem of tap dancers. People will say that frequently. The dance itself, the history of it is such that it was a dance. There were several that were sort of assumed knowledge in the tap dance community. So if you were a dancer, you knew these dances. And as you traveled in the vaudeville circuit, one example, to different cities around the country, everyone knew some version of the Shim Sham. So it was an easy way to put together like a finale, right? So these shared routines like the Tranky Do and the Shim Sham served a function in the larger community in terms of having a shared language and vocabulary that everybody could riff on and improvise on in the moment.
That's kind of cool. It's like a common knowledge in the dance world to like have these things that it's kind of like time steps they call them, just everybody knows, and then you can kind of throw that in. And
exactly. Yeah, it's a language like any other. I've also done some vernacular dance intensives at various points in time in different locations. I have a good friend, former student who lives in Seattle, who is really at the heart of the Lindy Hop and swing dance communities. And so he has shared information with me over the years. So yeah, there's a lot of different sources. My good friend, Sarah Flynn, who works here in town, I've learned quite a bit from her as well.
So that's cool. It's like a little dance community with a common language, the Shim Sham, and everybody gets to learn it and throw it into various routines, like you were saying when they're traveling. So everybody can come learn the common language of dance with Michele this weekend. Like I said, she'll be teaching at 11 a.m. tomorrow and Saturday. Make sure that you join her. And if you want to hear about anything else or double check the schedule, go to centralpatheater.com. All of the schedule is on there. Thank you for talking to me this morning, Michele. I always love seeing you, and I'm excited to see your classes. I know that everybody always has lots of fun when you're teaching because you're a great teacher and you're really fun to be around. So thank you for talking to me, and I will see you this weekend. And for everybody else, make sure you join Michele this weekend. Bye.
Thanks, Vanessa. Bye, everyone.